Hi everyone, this is Dr. Aeronautics, and welcome back to the third episode for General Order Space Mission Number 1, otherwise known as the Fall 2021 trip to the Saturn system. Today we will be taking the mess of documentation and planning that we just made and convert that into a flyable uh, simulation loadout that's ready to fly. And next episode, we will be flying. I can promise you today that the complexity of today's episode is going to be orders of magnitude less than the last one. So don't be put off by how complex that last one was. This one is not going to be that at all. It's mainly going to be moving files around. So we're going to talk about some deltas that I made to this mission planning spreadsheet, and I'll explain those. Then we're going to take a look at how to create and update several checklists. I'm not going to go through every checklist, just the ones that are pertaining specifically to this flight. Then we're going to actually go into Orbiter, and we're going to set up the real scenario that we're going to fly. We're going to load the XR2 with exactly as much fuel as we're supposed to have, enable the required add-on modules that we need, disable the ones that we don't need, and optimize the simulator for it to run what we want it to and not what is irrelevant to the flight. And then lastly, we're going to export all of the files that we make and save them in a safe location for reference later. Okay, so our deltas. I have our mission planning workbook open, and if I scroll down in the mission information table, the very first thing that I did was add actual landing latitude and longitudes rather than leave it up for interpretation and just say, oh yeah, I wanted the blue crack on Enceladus. So on Enceladus, we'll be landing at 47:51 south and 79 degrees 85 minutes east. Not minutes, 79.85 degrees east. Then on Titan, we're targeting Cyanosky Glacus, which is 42:53 north. So interestingly enough, about as far north on Titan as we were south on Enceladus, and also about as far west as we were east on Enceladus, 81.88 west. Now, if you're either an astronomer or you're really studious about the geography of the solar system, you'll know that Titan geography is measured in, I think it's degrees east. So technically we're landing at something like 280 something degrees east. But these are worlds just like the Earth. And when it comes to Earth geography, I think in terms of both eastward and westward longitude. So it is extremely confusing to me when you say, oh yeah, it's 310 degrees east. I'm thinking, what? I can't picture that. The other thing, too, is that Orbiter, the spaceflight simulator, uses this same convention of using east longitude and west longitude. And I thought that I had also targeted Iapetus, but maybe I decided to leave that blank because that was an entire hemisphere. So I added 2 latitudes and longitudes. Okay, so for the next delta, that one unfortunately was a little bit more complicated. This Earth transfer injection burn right here. That one is really, really hard to get right. Actually, hang on. I think, it's that one. This one is really, really hard to get right. And the reason why is because, all those mid-course correction maneuvers and your classical orbital elements oscillate. And that's something that's a little bit harder to plan in Orbiter. So what's probably going to happen is the ideal case that we try to plan will slightly devolve over the course of the 7-year transit. So I've had to, or I believe that I need to factor in a 5% penalty. So I have taken the original number, which was 7442, and said, you know what, add 5% to that. And that's in line with the flight that I made to Uranus. So I'm expecting to use that. And hopefully we won't have to use all these MCCs. I'm not sure what caused that, but this is an example. You know, you have 812 meters per second of MCCs. Well, you can expect that your perfectly planned maneuver is going to be a little different. Okay, the other thing that I added was a 5% penalty to the Saturnian orbit insertion burn right here. And that's basically due to geometry not necessarily being perfect. So when I planned this using the patched conic assumed a perfect alignment between Earth and Saturn. And what's really going to end up happening is we're not going to be at quite the perfect alignment, and we'll have to go a little bit out of plane of the solar system. Those additions are going to cause that number to be a little bit higher. So again, factored in 5%. The other thing that we adjusted was this Saturnian transfer injection. This one we took 7364 and added 10%. And the reason we added 10% is because this one I actually took a look at, and we're going to, like I said, be going pretty far out of the solar system plane. So we're going to be adding, in addition to forward prograde velocity to make the Hohmann transfer, we're also going to have to shoot a little bit out of the plane too. So I've had to add 10% to that. Now, a lot of the out of planeness will be covered by being able to get into a slightly higher inclination than ecliptic. That will actually make it easier on the flight. But it will be a little bit more challenging in the sense that once we perform our ejection, our velocity at infinity will be in 2 degrees of freedom. So that's going to be a little bit more open to errors because now we're dealing with 2 axes. So 5% for each axis, if you will. Okay, the next thing I did was update the mass load in E86 right here. That was actually, I think that was an automatic update. Yeah. Because when I made these additions, it changed the total expected delta V. We got a new delta V requirement. The masses didn't change, but anyway, we have a slightly different fuel requirement. So I had to update that. And then conversely, I had to split this up again and do the math here. So in our 804 kilogram RCS tank, 600 kilograms will be used as main fuel. 204 is reserved for RCS and RCS only. So when you subtract, that remains 4,140.4 kilograms into the main tank. That is what we're going to be loading today. And lastly, this cell right here said Uranus trip flight notes. So I just changed that to say Saturn. And that's all the deltas. Okay, now for checklists, what I did was opened up the orbiter main folder. I'm going to go to sound. I'm going to go to Delta Glider 4. And in here, there is this checklist. And there we go. I wanted the checklist.txt. So what I did was I copied that out, and that's what we're going to be editing. Okay, so what I've done is I've copied this uh, XR checklist into, renamed it XR checklist, and then I copied it into a reasonable text editor. I'm using Dev C++, but you can really use anything that shows line numbers. Okay, and this is mainly just so that I can follow these conventions. It's not absolutely necessary that we get the formatting right, because it's technically not going to go into the XR2 it's not going to go into the XR2 Raven Star the way that this would go into the Delta Glider 4. There's no real way to display. Well, there is, but it's not a really useful way of displaying checklists. So we're going to do this, but if we happen to stay in the proper formatting, we might be able to convert this to an HTML file, which is a little bit more human readable. So what kind of checklists are we going to need? We're going to need ground cockpit startup, right? Because we're sitting on the ground, we're basically in an off configuration, so we need to turn everything on. So we're going to turn everything on. Then we would normally say Earth ascent, but we're going to be ascending at Titan too. So this will simply be called ascent. And then we're going to get into orbit. We're going to do a maneuver. So I need a maneuver checklist. Then, after we get far away from the Earth and we've done our first mid-course correction maneuver, everything is good, we're on our way to Saturn, we want to shut down a little bit. And the main reason that I shut down on the Delta Glider 4 is to conserve power. But on the XR2 Raven Star, in addition to powering down, which, we can pretend like it's simulated. It's not, but we can pretend it is. Or I should say imagine it is. We also want to safe the spacecraft, put it in a safe configuration. That way, if my arm accidentally bumps the controller like I did in my P-38 flights across the Pacific Ocean, I don't accidentally hit a button and be like, "Whoa, what just happened?" and see the craft entering a steep yaw. Because remember, things will be running at 100,000 times the normal rate for quite a long time. So 100,000 times me bumping the control stick is really bad, as in unrecoverable. So we're going to add a secure configuration checklist. Then we're going to be approaching Saturn, right? And then we need to unpack the atmospheric probe and deploy it. That's going to require human hands outside the spacecraft. So we need an EVA checklist. Then we're outside. We need to get back inside. So then we need an ingress checklist. Okay. But before then, we need a deployment checklist, right? How to actually deploy the spacecraft. Then we're going to get into orbit, which is going to be a maneuver around Saturn. Then we're going to do some more maneuvers. Then we're going to be in orbit around Enceladus, and then we're going to land. So we need vertically. So we need a VLAND, which stands for vertical land checklist. Okay, we've landed. Then we need a vertical takeoff, VTO. to get off the ground again. We actually first need a stowing checklist. We've had deployments. We'll just call it deployments and ingress. After landing and before takeoff, we're going to refer to our deployments checklist to set up the base, but then to pack up the base, we need to actually stow. That doesn't happen with the atmospheric probe. So we have a stowing checklist, vertical takeoff, then atmospheric entry. And normally that would be re-entry, but remember, we're going into 2 atmospheres, Titan 2. Okay, and then I have another note here that says ascent for Titan. And the reason why I need a separate checklist, as I recall, is because Titan is not breathable, doesn't have a significant amount of oxygen in the atmosphere, which means we can't use our scramjets. That's going to change the ascent. In addition, it's like 5 times denser than Earth's atmosphere. So there's that. And then, let's see, we come back to the Earth. Everything is the same. We can use all the checklists that we have. We do our atmospheric entry on the Earth. We do our horizontal landing. Yeah, I think I will make a separate landing checklist. And then we do a shutdown. Okay. So those are all the checklists. What I'm going to do now is get this into a cleaner format that agrees with the formatting here, with like the titles and everything. And then I'm going to begin filling it in, mostly off screen. The sources that I'm going to use for things like ground cockpit startup, I'm simply going to load a scenario and test it. And once I know it's good, write it up. Ascent, I'll probably look at one of my old tutorials that I've done for the XR2 Ravenstar. Secure configuration is something that I can load up and test. There's a few things like EVA and deployments that I'll have to very carefully do that I can't really test. But yeah, that's basically how this is going to go. And there's a couple of these that will actually go through just as a demonstration.
Okay, we're ready to test the deployment aspect in order to get our deployment checklist. So here's an example, just an example of what our loadout would look like in real life. So what we want to do is get that probe unpacked. So what we're going to do is select someone to go EVA.
Warning, outer door is closed.
Oh, yeah, I have this backwards.
Airlock depressurizing. Airlock pressure 0 psi.
Okay, now we should shut this off. The APU is going to be one of our most limited resources on the trip. Okay, so now I'm going to go to payload camera. Actually, no, I'm not. I wanted to EVA.
Egress successful.
There we go. Okay, so we've got someone out there. Let's see. Now, in order to get, it's kind of really weird. This is kind of like a ship in a ship. The XR2 Raven Star is a ship, and then this unit here, this pallet containing all 4 cargoes, is a ship in and of itself. And then all of these little cargoes go inside of it. So we'll load that on the ground, but for the time being, if I select the adapter and go inside, there should be a way for me to select certain cargoes. This is not what I was trying to do. There we go. 4 cargoes aboard. Total weight 6501. We just make sure that that was the number that I had set aside for that. Oh no, it was 7753. So if I don't add the adapter, yes, then we get 6501. All right. I have to remember how to deploy this. So if I select UMMU unpack probe selected, and then Shift C to release, cargo released. Okay, so I'm going to write that down. Shift C. So once on EVA, it's going to be a Shift C. And we need to get to this thing quick. Where is it? Oh, it's going to be this way. Got deployed that a ways. There it is. There we go. Thought something was up. Alright, then we want to go to translation. It's using the old translation. And we're going to need a lot more translation to catch it. This is so dangerous. I'm glad that this is just a test and it's not the real thing, because let me tell you, if it was the real thing, this would not be good. I don't know how much fuel I have left, but hopefully it's a lot. Alright, we've got it now. So I think when we release, we're going to maneuver the person. Actually, yeah, let me add that to the checklist. So on EVA, maneuver to cargo, and then Shift C. I don't know how to do that. Anyway, we should be within grappling range, so if we G, we've got it. And, okay, so now we need to release it in the retrograde velocity vector. And we need to change the... Shoot, how do I change the HUD? Alright, let's do it this way. Okay, I can't turn around.
Rotation.
Let's find the prograde velocity vector, which should be somewhere on this side. There we go. And we've just picked up about 1,000 kilograms, so turning is much slower now. Alright, now we're going to yaw around until we get to the opposite of 140, which is going to be about 320. Okay, so I'm maneuvering to object. Press G to grapple. Maneuver to operational attitude. And now if I press U, that should unpack the probe. And then I want to let go of it immediately because this thing is supposed to automatically activate a time sequence, and I don't want to be dragged down to the planet with it. So I'm going to press U. What?
No packable cargo in range.
No packable cargo. Then how do I activate this thing?
No packable cargo in range.
That's a lie. Maybe release and press U.
Unpacking cargo.
Oh, there we go. Alive and booting. Okay. Time to get away.
Transmission.
Yep, let's back away very quickly before it decides to do something crazy. Alright, analyzing situation. Okay, there it goes. Alright, it's pointing its rockets at us. Let's get out of the way of that. Alright, it's waiting and it's going to do a retrograde burn. Where is our... Okay, we want to go backwards very quickly to get away from this thing. That's very dangerous. It's about to fire its engines. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Should be igniting. Boom! Okay, there it goes. That's it. Okay, so now it's deorbiting. Wonder how much delta V that gave it. I'm curious to know how much it can adjust the orbit. Hopefully it's enough. In fact, we should be able to tell. But we need to get back to the ship first. Where the heck is this thing? So I think I have it down now. So we're going to go on EVA, maneuver to the cargo. So then we press 9 to select probe. Then Shift C to release. Then we maneuver to the object. Press G to grapple. Actually, we don't. We don't even need to grapple. All we needed to do was release. Maneuver to the object. Wait, no, we do want to grapple. And then maneuver to the optimum release attitude. Press G to release cargo. Then press U to activate. And then vacate area. Okay, I think that's it. Well, wherever it went, it looks like it's going down at a pretty quick rate of speed. So hopefully we can just get back to the XR2 Raven Star. And I think we're not having too much an issue getting back there. It's kind of interesting. Like, we're so far out that I need to do times 10 to be able to figure out speed. There we go. Oh shoot, it's deorbiting. We need to figure out what this thing's orbit is now before it decays. Alright, so I want target spacecraft and then the probe. So let's see what it did. Oh shoot, we're actually on a re-entry trajectory. Oh, that's real bad. I don't know how that happened. So our eccentricity 0.469, and then its eccentricity went to 0.456. I guess I should get the semi-major axes as well. 6.664, 6.744. All right, let's get back to her and get her back to the ship before we start to re-enter. And we need to fix that. Oh, hey. All right. There it is. Crew member Sharon Valeri ingressed successfully. We're safe for now, but we're going to re-enter unless we do something. Okay, looks like the probe is doing something now. Let's see, we need to close this stuff.
Okay, now having done that test and developed a paper checklist, we can now build a real checklist from this. So we had the deployments. The step one is to EVA to the cargo bay area. Okay, second step. From cargo adapter, Shift C to, wait a minute, do I want to Shift C? No, I need to select. Okay, press 9 until probe selected, and then Shift C to release probe. From UMMU, maneuver to object, press G to grapple, and then station keep with station keep with the XR2. So basically we want to stop the motion so that it's not doing anything. Okay, and at this point we want to, so it's going to be UMMU, and we'll have literally an hour to do this. It's not going to be anywhere near time critical because we're going to do it at a very long entry thing. So as long as it's plus or minus an hour, we're good to go. And this should only take about 10 minutes tops. All right, so then the UMMU maneuver to you know what? I should activate prograde autopilot. So I'm going to activate my ProGrade autopilot. That will keep the XR2 pointed towards Saturn. So then I want to UMMU maneuver to off port side of XR2 Ravenstar. Okay, so now I'm there. UMMU maneuver probe to which direction do I maneuver it to? Retrograde direction, because I don't want it to smack in. And then press G to release. Press U to activate. And now this is really important because this we're dealing with humans and thrusters. So there's not many things that I would make bold, even most things on re-entry. In fact, I don't think anything's on re-entry are bold. But this is very dangerous work. So I'm going to make in bold get out of the flight vector. And if I could, I would paste an image from that thing that said get out from Courage the Cowardly Dog. Get out. Okay. Get out of the flight vector. That's it, I think, right? Yep, vacate the area. And whatever the heck you do, don't press K. And then ingress to XR2. That's it. So we're going to add our end of checklist here. And that's deployments done. So now we're going to scroll down to stowing, and that's much easier. Place cargoes by UGCO payload adapter. That's the name of the rack or the pallet that we're loading. So we're going to place the cargoes by the UGCO payload adapter, and then from the UGCO payload adapter, press C as needed to collect cargo. And then from XR2 Ravenstar, highlight Bay 2, and then grapple. That's it. Okay, that should be all of our checklists assembled now. I did all the other ones off screen just to make it pretty quick. It was exactly what I said. I used my old videos for what I did, and did a few tests like what you just saw. And we have a number of checklists, and this should be everything that we need to fly the mission. So at this point, we're going to consider the checklists done, and we're going to move on to setting up the scenario editor, launchpad settings, as well as making sure that all the add-on modules are in place and optimization for the simulation. And we'll come back again to the checklists again in the near future. When we do product exports at the very end, we'll convert this to an HTML to make it like official.
Oh dear, I forgot about it. Oh god. Huh? Maybe we did. Well, in real life, if the XR2 Raven Star looked like this, we would have died. I don't know what the problem is, but that's what we're going to cover next. Setting up the scenario editor, launchpad settings, and add-on modules, and optimization for the flight, so that this doesn't happen. Okay, so we're actually going to start with the most invasive things first and work our way down to less things. So the first thing that I'm going to do here is copy this orbiter.cfg file and create a copy of it so that we can revert it when the flight ends. What is it doing? Ooh. Okay, we need to add this. All right, and test with XR2 Ravenstar .log. Okay. All right, so now we're going to go to actually editing orbiter.cfg to do what we want it to. So we'll start at the top. A lot of this will not be important. Here's the first one of importance. The instrument update interval. This is going to be how often the MFDs will update. And you would think that this is trivial, but it's not. You can't set it to 0.3 or 0.0377 for 60 hertz. It'll bring your computer to a crawl. So I found that the balance is about 0.5. It might even be better to make it a little bit higher than that. I'm going to stick with this because I'm a little bit concerned that it might slow my computer down, and we're going to be seeing 3 atmospheres in very close detail. So I wouldn't want to slow it down, and that's too easy to do, so we're going to leave that alone. Okay, for the rest of these things, visual parameters, these are changed in the launchpad settings. Same with the planetarium. That's actually edited in the scenario itself. And then the physics engine stuff is as well. Then there's the HUD color, I think HUD color index, and that can be changed in the scenario. I'm not going to change the device index or mode index here. I want full screen. The joystick, I'm going to set up the joystick at some point. The XR2 Ravenstar has a joystick, and therefore I will use a joystick to control it. The Delta Glider 4 doesn't show you what it has to control, but I would not be surprised if it were a yoke. So I use the yoke with the the yoke with the Delta Glider 4, and the joystick with the XR2 Ravenstar. And then we have the active modules. So, funnily enough, we're actually not going to be editing the orbiter.cfg file. But I can tell you what we're going to be editing as the XR.cfg file. So if we go into config, and go all the way to the end, you'll see this XR2 Ravenstar prefs.cfg. Well, that's strange. I just jumped up to the top for some reason. Okay, now the XRCFG file is actually really cool in the fact that you can have multiple ones. The way it works is you pick a file, you copy it, and you change the name to what you want the ship's name to be. So we're going to copy this. Actually, it needs to be the XRCFG file. So we're going to copy this one, and we're going to paste it, and we're going to rename it XR2 dash. Actually, let me see what the example says. Okay, you do not need XR2 as part of the name. So now I have to figure out a good name for it. Okay, on account that we're going to be visiting 3 atmospheres, I'm going to prefix Saturn, and we're going to do dash Skyhopper, because the idea is we go between several different planet atmospheres. Okay, now we open it up, and we know 100% that this is our very own, so we don't need to worry about editing anything else. Okay, so this basically explains a little bit about how these files work. I'm not going to go into detail. If you want to, you can read it, but this file is well, it's a little bit shorter than I expected. Okay. Well, in that case, we're going to have to take a look at the longer one. So we talked about the main fuel ISP setting, and remember how I said we needed a setting of 6, which was 37,372.55. You'll notice there's no choice here, because for some reason, and honestly a better reason, the XR2 Ravenstar multiplies by G0 to get ISP. So it's instead going to be 366251, which should be setting 6. Yes. See, this is what I was talking about when I was talking about which ISP setting we're going with. So this is the first thing that needs to change. That's going to 6. Okay. Next is the liquid oxygen loadout setting. We said 5 years, and we're going to have to go with setting 9 because we're taking I think we said 4 passengers. Yes, 4. So as long as I do the math, we're talking about 5 times 14 divided by 4, which means we have 17 and a half years of O2. Yes, that's right. Okay. So the LOX loadout will be set to 9, which is the highest value that we can go to. But as you'll see in the other file, there are ways to cheat that. Okay, the APU burn rate. Now, this I want to change. So, normally it has... Oh, it's already been changed. Normally it has a 110 minute of runtime, and that's usually good for 1 atmosphere. Now, interestingly enough, it says, yeah, the default value is 2. That's good for 1 atmosphere, but we need 2. So we need to double it. So that's 1.9-ish. 1.85 doubled is 3.7. So we need a 1, which is very low. And that's set to 1 already. So that one's not going to change. We'll save this file. Okay, now this is the massive file. Let me see how many lines it is. It's over 1,000 lines long. So this is everything. This is the 2D panel. We want auto detect, that's fine. Then the name, age, and everything else about the 14 passengers. This is default stuff. It's stuff that we can change later. The other thing that we'll need to note is if this require pilot for ship control, what that equals. We'll have to pay attention to that. So we have the default crew complement. I've never noticed this to work. I set it to 1, and for some reason it spawns with 14 people in it. So I'm not exactly sure why that happens. Then we went hover, engine effects, yes. Show altitude and vertical speed on HUD, yes. Distance to base, threshold, less than 200 kilometers. Yeah, we only care about Earth. There's no other bases on Titan, or any of the other planets for that matter. Or I should say moons. Planetary bodies works. Require pilot for ship control, that's 0. So basically we have ground support now. It's not that complicated. And a lot of times people cross-train. Determines whether payload fuel tanks are necessary. I don't want this. 0. Okay, that's 0. Enable dual performance mode for AF control. And that is... Yeah, I don't like the low performance modifier, so we'll leave that alone. Determines that the performance of the ship's elevators. First number is used for pitch mode. Oh, this is irrelevant because we're not using dual performance mode. Okay, main fuel ISP setting. This gets overridden. We can ignore it. That was the last file. Okay, scram fuel ISP setting. 0 realistic. Yeah. Yep. We want realistic. If we mess with that number, it's going to mess with my delta V calculations for getting into orbit. And I really don't want to mess with that, so I'm not going to. The next is the LOX loadout setting. This gets overridden by the other file. And then the LOX oh, yeah. This is the really, really... this is the really science fiction-y stuff. You remember how I said that even at the highest setting with Jupiter, we can... there's still more cards that I can pull out? This is exactly one of them. So the LOX mass loaded is the loadout times the consumption rate. So I can lower the rate and say, you know what? How about you start taking oxygen at 25% of normal, right? We're superhumans. Suddenly we need 4 times less oxygen. Well, that 5 years suddenly becomes 20 years. I'm not going to go into that territory, though, because I don't have any use for 14 passengers. Modifies the crew default oxygen consumption. Oh, this is... what's the difference here? How much oxygen is consumed for a given length of time? And this would... Oh, okay, you could simulate CO2 if you wanted to. Consumption rate, consumption multiple. Okay. This is insane. So if I set this value here to like 0.00000001, the oxygen will last 2,000 years. So yeah, this is insane. Main engine thrust at 192 kilonewtons. I just want to confirm that I had that in the vessel information table that I made, yeah, 192 kilonewtons. We're not touching that. Hover engine thrust is going to be realistic. That's fine. They just make sure that I've recorded this information. 132 kilonewtons times 2, yes. And let me just make sure that we can take off from Titan. So 268 kilonewtons divided by our mass, which is, we'll assume the launch mass as an absolute worst case, 35,510. And we get 7.54 meters per second. So what that means is we can't take off of Earth vertically, but that's fine. We're going to take off on a runway, so it'll be fine. Titan doesn't have anywhere near that gravity. I think it has less than 2 meters per second squared gravity. So at 7.54, we're fine. And that's using the launch mass anyway. Scram fuel heating value, we normally want that to be realistic. That will basically mean that the scramjets overheat at about the same time they run out of fuel. So we'll just leave that at realistic because there's no reason not to. Scram fuel flow rate, we'll leave that to realistic. Easy will not only affect my ascent profile, which I have so carefully, methodically organized out or planned out, but this will also make me accelerate way faster. APU fuel burn rate, that is to 210. Oh, no, this got overridden, so we're going to ignore that one. APU idle runtime callouts, yes, I want them every 60 seconds. So what this is going to tell us is, I think the callout is APU running. And if we hear that, then we know, okay, there's no reason the APU is running. You might want to consider shutting it down because we need it for atmospheric flight. If we run out of APU, we can't fly in an atmosphere anymore. Okay, APU auto start when we need it for re-entry. Yes, I like that. So that's enabled. Enable or disable ship damage due to wing stress. Oh yeah, these should all be enabled. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Oh, except damage while docked. I'm okay with this. The reason why I don't like enable damage while docked is because I have an idea to encapsulate the XR2 Ravenstar in a heat shield, like a clamshell, to make it even more effective on certain re-entries, like beyond what we did with the Blue Ball commute. Maybe one day I'll get around to it once I figure out how to do 3D modeling, but for the time being, I just have to dock to some random small module and declare it a heat shield. So that's why I don't do that. We're not going to be docking with anything today, or on the flight. So this is not going to save us from all of these different damages. Okay, enable or disable reduction in thrust due to atmospheric pressure. 1, enabled, because we factored this in on Titan and Earth. Enable or disable flight control surface input from the pilot when the attitude hull is engaged. Yeah, we want that disabled. We don't want to fight the autopilot. Okay, optionally invert the attitude, hold, pitch, AOA. No, don't invert. That's weird. I don't like that. Optionally invert the descent rate autopilot behavior. No, don't invert that. Set the master voice call. Yeah, we want loud as possible. You're cleared to land. Yeah, that's fine. Set waveforms. Yeah, this is just what it says. For some reason, the default is wheels up and wheels down. And I really don't like that because wheels up makes me feel like my gear is up, and wheels down feels like its gear is down. So that doesn't make sense. So you can disable it too, but no, you have 3 options here and you have 2 options here. So I prefer lift off and touch down. That's what I like to hear. Okay, sonic boom. This should actually be disabled. And the reason why is because it sounds really cool, but it's unrealistic. You don't hear the sonic boom when you're flying a supersonic aircraft. The only thing that happens is your vertical speed indicator will flinch from what it is currently, super high, then super low, and then it just kind of settles out where it was before. So this is disabled. Okay, and let's save it before we're like, okay, what did we change? Enable or disable specific categories for voice callouts. We want callouts for everything. Set multifunctional display. Ooh, this is cool. We can update. We can override the orbiter.cfg file value. The HUDs, the payloads, the artificial horizons. If it's too low, it can impact the frame rate, particularly if the frame rate is high. Okay, if it's 0 every frame, but you probably, can update. That's why I went for 60 frames per, or 60 updates per second. Okay, that's point. All right, that's not 0.033. That's 0.067. I think 0.067 is the digital waveform value, and the cycle of a sine wave at 60 hertz is, well, no. I don't know why I thought it was 0.377. Okay, update intervals, 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. Okay, yeah. The only one that I really care about is the artificial horizon, and hey, if that's been set to 0.0167 this whole time, and I didn't realize it, it's not negatively impacting the frame rate, so I'm going to leave it alone. Although I'm a little bit concerned that it's not working properly, because I've never noticed it to be glass smooth. Panel update interval 60 hertz. Okay. But that's how often when something is clicked, it updates. So we don't want to touch that. We definitely want 60 hertz there. Define refueling settings. Allow ground supply. All right, you know what? I'm going to copy this. At this point, I'm going to copy and back up this file because I want to change these things. Now, I really wish that there was a way. I might be able to add these things into the Ravenstar example thing, but then I'd have to regression test it, and I really, really don't want to do that because it's going to take forever. So, if we for some reason dock, I'm going to allow us to get everything except the scram fuel, and we're going to leave it blank to prevent refueling for ground supply. There's no ability to refuel on any of the Saturn moons, and we're going to say that we can allow only on Earth. So that means when we're landed on Earth, we can refuel anything we want. When we're docked, we can refuel main locks and APU. And on Saturn's moons, we can't refuel anything. Okay. Now we're on to external or internal systems heating rate. The coolant temperature increases at a given rate. We'll leave it at realistic, and let's see what happens. I honestly think that 63 minutes is enough time to get down to Titan, hopefully. It'll also be enough to swing through the Saturnian atmosphere. We have to close the radiator when we're in an atmosphere, which means that this increases. Okay, enable or disable orbiter's default auto refueling. Disable it. Disable it. Yes. Okay. Enable or disable vertical scrolling of the lower instrument panel. Most should not increase. Oh, it's only needed if you have less than 600 pixels. We're way higher than that. Enable or disable custom main, hover, and RCS sounds. Yep, we want those enabled. That's the XR2 personality. We don't want to stifle that. Volume level for the custom main sound engine. Oh yeah, I want to hear all of the engine. Tertiary HUD colors sections. I don't want to touch these. It's just going to confuse me. Don't touch. Yeah, I don't want to touch the tertiary HUD stuff. Enable or disable the fuzzy dice. We're going to disable it because this is a space mission. When I flew as the Sea Star to Blue Ball in that Blue Ball commute, I'm pretty sure I enabled the fuzzy dice. That's the reason why I enable fuzzy dice, is because when it becomes a commute at that point, that's when the fuzzy dice come out. But this isn't a commute. This is an expedition. The fuzzy dice don't come out until the expedition goes away. Okay, enable or disable fuel and LOX hatch animations when the ship is docked. Enable fuel and... As opposed to what? Landed? Oh, we want enabled while docked. Okay, so we don't touch that. Enable or disable cheat code settings. Globally or enables or disables processing of cheat code values. We'll leave that to 1 because I never touch them, and so far everything has been default, so there shouldn't be any anyway. Defines the color and fields for all 5 secondary HUD. Okay, yeah, we don't want to touch this. Okay, note the default background for each HUD is transparent. Okay. And, alright, here's the secondary HUDs. This is what consumes most of the space here. Oh my gosh. Yeah, these are insane. These cheat codes are absolutely insane. This is basically like, do you want to fly a 747 instead of the XR2 Raven Star? If so, change these values. Do you want the XR2 Raven Star to be able to fly faster than the Millennium Falcon? If so, change these values. I don't want to change them. So, and it doesn't look like it lists default values. Like, that's a little bit scary. So I definitely don't want to change these. So you can change your empty mass, your fixed cargo mass, maximum range to grapple. That's not as cheat codey, but that's insane. 22 meters. I'm fine with that. Maximum allowed delta V payload a module may be grappled, so it has to be going less than 0.5 meters per second. That's fine. Main fuel tank capacity, yeah, do not want to touch that. I mean, I guess if we really wanted to, we could actually lower this to match our fuel loadout, right? I said we were going to put 4,140.406 kilograms into the main tank. Technically, I could probably change this value, but like I said, these are really sketchy cheat codes, so I just prefer to leave it as full tank, and I'm going to just only fill the tank up about 30 to 40%. That's a safer way of getting the same thing. Like I said, I've never regression tested this before. I've never changed it, and I don't want to change it for such an official mission. Maybe on a blue ball commute where it's like, hey, the C star broke down. J star, are you nearby? Can you rescue me? We do not have the blunderbusters. So I'm not changing this. Same thing with the scram tank capacity. That's going to mess up my calculations. RCS fuel tank capacity, same thing. I I get, yeah, I could actually. Oh man. Okay, we'll do it another time. But I could set this to 204, which is what I actually want, and then change the main tank capacity to my actual fuel use, which is 4,740.406 kilograms. But I'm not going to do it. Then we got the APU tank capacity. I don't want to change that. Main fuel. This overrides the main fuel ISP setting in the general section. I know it says that, but I've never encountered it being overridden. But yeah, so remember how I said that the massive Jupiter thing? All I need is not limited. All I need to do is add 6 zeros to this number, and we'll be able to go to like Proxima Centauri with the engine left on the entire time, and we'll be able to reach the speed of light. There's literally no end to what you can do with this craft. Yep, main engine thrust. 3 times 10 to the ninth. We're now like a nuclear. We now have the power of the Big Bang in the engine. Maximum hover thrust, sure. We can name it Atlas. Retro engine thrust, RCS jet thrusts. Scram fuel heating value, wheel brake force, wheel friction coefficient, different attitude, hold, autopilots. Yeah, we don't want to change that. That could cause spinning. Absolute bank limit 75. That's way too much in most situations. And then pitch or AOA absolute values. 87.5. Not changing that. Okay, so we've reached the end of the file. I think the only thing that we've really changed is the refueling locations. And we shouldn't have to worry about. Remember, I was concerned about this value being overridden with the cheat codes enabled. I haven't observed it being so. But even if this one overrides that one, the file that we copied out overrides this one. So we're guaranteed to not be having this one. I mean, I guess what I could do is just run the engines a whole bunch and see how far I get. I should be able to tell on the ground, because if we taxi and suddenly I find out that I've used 2,500 kilograms, I'll be like, no, something is wrong. So anyway, all right, that's the end of the XR config files. We've backed up everything else, so we're now on to the launchpad settings. Okay, you have orbiter.exe. Okay, here's the launchpad. So we're going to create a folder, I think, in here. Unless I might have already done it, because I flew the flight to Uranus in here. Grand Exploration. Yes, that's it. So we're going to save it in this Grand Explorations folder. But we'll go ahead and ignore that for the time being. So we're going to go to parameters. We want we'll start with realism. We want complex flight model, damage and failure simulation, limited fuel, and just as an extra caution, we're going to disable auto refuel on pads so it doesn't happen. But we're not going to be landing on any pads anyway, so that won't matter. Okay, perturbations, all of them, yes. Instruments and panels, I don't like transparent glass cockpit. I don't want to touch these numbers. I guess this adjusts all of the orbiter.cfg file things. Okay, so I'll just mark that as not needed. I don't want to change any of this information. Follows mouse, yes. And then stars. Star magnitude, that looks good. Okay, visual effects. Enable everything because this is a 2010 game and I have a much more advanced computer. Night light level. Could set it to 0.1 to 0.10. I'm used to 0.5. Maybe I should experiment with this some other time. High resolution's fine. Enable everything here. We've got ambient light. I'd like the wiki sky and set to 0.4 intensity. That gives us some nice colorful stars in the background. All right, now we're going to go to modules and figure out what we really need. So we want aero brake because that's going to enable us to target areas on Earth and Titan. Base sync, I think, is used to figure out when we can make re-entries. So we'll enable that. Burn time MFD. Yeah, burn time should help with the slowdown. So we're going to enable it. What is the CRT thing? There's some really cool MFDs out there. I don't know what this does, so I'm not going to enable it. I definitely don't want to orbit our galaxy. We're not going to a different star system. Let's try to use Transx 2. I think I tried to use Transx, and then David Courtney told me that the one I was using was broken, and then I installed the new one, and then I'm like, it's still broken. Well, maybe I just forgot to check Transx 2? I don't know. All right, Lua console. I don't really use Lua script, so we're going to disable it to save memory. If we need to, we can enable it later. Orbiter sound, yes, we want sound. External MFD, yeah, we want that. And flight data, yes. Remote control and scenario editor so that we can set up our scenario. This remote control allows you to control a ship remotely, and this external MFD allows you to view a ship remotely. And the reason I want that is because we're going to be deploying that atmospheric probe, so we want to be able to control it remotely if possible. Then we're moving on to video. None of that needs to be changed. It's all on the highest settings right now. Let me see if any of these options might help with the flashy behavior that I've noticed. I don't know what page flip is, so let's try disabling vertical sync. I get this weird flashy thing that's been happening a lot, so I'm not sure what causes that. Okay, joystick. I have to set up my joystick now. I'm not even sure if it's plugged in, so I have to figure this out now. Okay, yeah, it wasn't even plugged in, but I've got it now. So it's auto-selected, and I want the slider 0, I think is the one that I want. I think you can only choose one device, unfortunately. All right, then we're going to go to extra, time propagation. Yep, that's fine. Angular state propagators. Affect the simulation accuracy. Maybe this is why I'm doing so many mid-course corrections. Maybe not. Orbit stabilization. These are really crazy things. I don't want to touch that. That is vessels that I'm not going to use. Oh yeah, atmospheric configurations. So this is what I was talking about when I wished that we were going to Jupiter, because then or no, I said I wish that I had done this for Saturn, because I made my own atmospheric simulation, which makes it realistic in the Jupiter atmosphere. So that's unfortunate. So we'll have to fly some other time. Orbiter shutdown options. Yeah, that's fine. Fixed time steps. No, we don't want to do that. Timer settings, automatic. Visualizations, planet rendering. Load on demand. Yep. So this is the optimization stuff that I was talking about. Load on demand. Don't preload, because that's going to take way too much memory. Map interpolation. Point sampling is fine. And I don't want to do any of the filtering there. I haven't done that in the past. That's it. So we're now ready to create the scenario. So we're going to go to the solar system and do today, and that is going to set everything up for us. Okay, so there's a couple graphical glitches that might be, they were caused by me minimizing the screen for a minute there. And I understand that the recording window is a little bit smaller than the entire screen, but that's okay. This isn't the same software that we're going to use to record the actual flight. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to custom. We want to go to scenario editor. Okay. And now what we want to do is we want to disable everything that's unrelated to the flight. And this is going to free up memory, right? But you know what? Maybe I should test my joystick. So we'll just do a quick test. Yep. And maybe my rudder pedals too. Okay, they do not work. Okay, main engines work. Brakes do not, unfortunately. That looks good. Alright, so let's go back to camera. And we're going to... Oops, I forgot I had those bases. There it is. Fly. Alright, now we're going to delete everything. So don't track. Delete the Delta gliders. Delete Shuttle A. Gotcha. Let's see if Transx2... It looks a little bit different. I don't like that it's showing Earth's atmosphere as being red. But it does look different. So that's kind of nice. So maybe that version does end up working. We don't need it to be too functional because, like I said, I've planned out this mission. So we're going to leave ISS and Mir. Those are the two rescue options we have. I know Mir doesn't exist anymore, but it's welcome to stick around in Orbiter, as far as I'm concerned. So, what we're going to do now is create a new XR2 Raven Star. And I already forgot what we decided to name it. Would you believe that? I think it was Saturn-Skyhopper. And I want XR2 Raven Star. Don't want to set camera. Create. I'm going to go into animations. I want to put the landing gear down. And now we should be safe to land. So we're going to do Earth, Surface Base, Wallops Island. Apply. Done. And now hopefully nothing bad has happened. Enter the ship for the first time. Oh no, not this. Okay, well at least it closed. Normally when that happens, the scenario is toast. I should have an welcome aboard, all systems nominal, right? Hey, it did work! How about that? There's only one person on board. Alright, that saves me a lot of time and effort. Yep, and of course with one crew member, we have tons and tons and tons of time to go. Okay, we can check it. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Good, the ship is healthy. So now the next thing to do is to move this to our starting location. So if we go to location, we're now going to go up that way. So we're going to go a little bit further north. And now you can see in the first episode, I had to tell you approximately where it is. But now we've got actual Wallops Flight Facility loaded up. So I like to go just to the side of that hangar there. So we'll just go ahead and work this until we get to that hangar location. So come out of that hangar sideways and then be rotated around. There we go. So that the jet blast will shoot that way initially. Okay, this is our starting position right now. So at this point, what we need to do is we need to change the skin. And I don't think there's a way to do that from here. Yeah, it's not, unfortunately. Okay. So I'm going to hit done. Done. And now we're going to save this. And this is going to be General Order Space Mission number 1. But I'm calling this Stage 1 because we're going to have to come back and make some more edits. It's not this simple. Okay, so back in the folder structure now, I'm going to go to Scenarios and find it. There it is. General Order Space Mission number 1, Stage 1. I'm going to open it. And now, what I'm going to do is find this. Here we go. XR2 Raven Star. And somewhere there should be a line that says skin. It might not be here. If it's here, we'll add it. Okay. It's not here. So what we're going to do is right under transponder, we're going to put skin angel underscore red and save. Now, when we open this back up in Orbiter, we should have the correct angel red skin loaded.
Welcome aboard, Commander. All systems nominal.
Okay, so I made a mistake.
Welcome
Okay.
aboard, Commander. All systems nominal.
Okay, so the mistake that I made was I did angel underscore red. There's no underscore, it's just angel red. Anyway, this is the ship that we're going to be flying right here. So, the next thing to do is to empty the ship. So we're going to power on, open the bay doors, and the nose cone. You know, I'm really happy. I haven't seen that ugly flashing anymore. I think I've disabled it with disable VSync. It's very nice to have a stable simulation now.
Using external O2.
Okay, once we egress this person, we won't be able to control the ship anymore, so we want to get this in the power off configuration. So I'm going to go into my checklists now, and I want to be shut down checklist. So we're going to AF control off, RCS mode off, tertiary HUD off, secondary HUD off, main HUD off, temperature display degrees Fahrenheit, MFDs off, lights, nav beacon, and strobe off. Reset the mission elapsed timer.
Mission elapsed time reset.
Okay. Cabin hatch is
Information.
desired.
APU running.
We want that open. Okay, nose cone open, outer airlock door open, inner airlock door open, bay doors open, APU off. We'll turn the external cooling online.
Hatch open. External cooling online.
And we want to set our fuel load out now. Okay, so actually we don't need the APU for this. So that turn off. Open LOX hatch.
LOX hatch open. LOX resupply systems online.
Okay, refuel LOX.
LOX tanks full.
There we go.
LOX resupply systems offline.
Okay.
Fuel hatch open. Refueling systems online.
Refuel APU.
APU fuel tanks full.
Refuel scram.
Scram fuel tanks full.
Okay. In the RCS tank, we should have 204 kilograms for RCS and 600 for for main fuel contingency. Okay, so that takes us to 804. We want 4,740.4. Subtract 600 from that, and we get 4,140.4. And that's what we put in the main tank.
Warning, fuel dump.
So now we're going to perform a fuel dump until we get down
Warning,
to
fuel dump.
4,140.4.
Warning, fuel dump. Hold to dump fuel. Warning, fuel dump.
Missed it. Okay. This is a little bit challenging.
Warning, fuel dump.
Alright, so now what we need to do is burn enough RCS. Actually, it would be... Yeah, we're going to burn enough RCS to be 4,140.4. So we need to burn 2.9 kilograms. So we're going to hold down translation until RCS translation, or until RCS tank gets down to 2.9 less than, so 801.1.
Rotation, translation. Warning, external cooling offline.
Okay, so we'll need to re-enable that later. Alright, let's see where we are.
RCS fuel tanks full.
We need 4,140.4, so we need 0.3 kilograms more. 0.1, 0.2, 0.3.
RCS fuel tanks full.
Okay, 4,140.4 in the main, 804 composed of 600 and 204 in the RCS. Combined make 4,740.4 kilograms. That's the correct loadout. So we now have the correct fuel. Oh yeah, we need to disable
Rotation off.
RCS and
Hatch open.
re-enable external cooling.
External cooling online.
Okay, and we want to wait for our coolant temperature to get down to stable. Alright, that's it. So now we want to change the time. I didn't want external MFD, I wanted the scenario editor. Okay. Our takeoff time is April 12th, 2022 at 12:31 UTC. For the sake of making sure that we're going to be on time, we should probably factor in 2.5 hours. So we'll set to 2000 UTC. So the date will be April 12th, 2022 at 2000 UTC. Okay. And that looks like it has already applied. So we are exactly where we should be. Everything looks good with the XR2 Raven Star, so we'll go ahead and egress this last person.
Egress successful.
So now it's not possible to control the ship anymore. We'll go into the scenario editor, don't track, and remove this one guy, and then we'll start putting in our own people. So now I want to go to new, don't set camera. This is the UGCO payload adapter. And we want to go to XR2 UGCO Platform 1, create, location, copy state from Saturn Skyhopper. And now we should see it under the craft. There it is. That's our palette. So now we're going to just move it a little bit off to the side here so that it's slightly more visible there. And it's within our grappling range, so that's good. Then what we're going to do is we're going to create our loadout. So we have our XR2 adapter. Then we want to add a base control module. Don't set camera. UGCO control. And we want to go to UGCO cargoes. Oh yeah, it's up near the top. Base control, create, location, copy state from the payload adapter. There it is. And we're just going to move it a little bit out of the way there so that it is in its place. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to create new UGCO flag. Okay, UGCO cargoes, cargo flag kit US. Don't set camera. Create location, copy from UGCO control, and move that out so that it's its own separate entity. Good. Done. Done. No track. New. UGCO. Oh, this needs a proper name. Because this is its own spacecraft, right? I'm going to call it Purple Horizon. Because the Saturnian horizon is literally purple, and it's the only planet that's purple. Okay, I want UGCO cargoes, cargo probe UMMU. Oh shoot. Well, hopefully we don't crash now. Okay, we're lucky about that one. I forgot to disable camera. Move that out. Okay, last one. No track, new. UGCO mod base for module or base module. UGCO. Oh shoot. That was the wrong one. I didn't know. Apparently there was a different type of probe. This probably isn't a UGCO probe then. That was not what I wanted to do. I really messed myself up now. Okay, don't track. Now grab this mod base, which is a probe. Delete that. We don't want it. New. Mod base. Good. I don't have to retype it at least. UGCO. Cargoes. Don't set camera. Base module. Create. Location. Copy from the flag. And move this out. Okay. So now we've got our 4 cargoes, our payload adapter, the XR2. Now we need our passengers. But before I do this, we should probably save again so we don't lose our work in case of a crash. So this is General Order Space Mission number 1, Phase 2. This is just a save checkpoint. So I want to create a new UMMU, and this is going to take a little bit longer to do. There we go. UMMU 2.5 is what I want. Don't set camera. Create. Did it not work? Oh, I didn't change the name. It doesn't matter what you call them. It will change once you load them up. Create. Location. Copy from the base. And there he is. We'll move him out of the way. Done, done. And we're going to have to get out of here for a minute. We want to go to UMMU1. Control him.
Analyzing. Atmospheric pressure nominal.
That's what I thought. I think it's Control-Shift-X. No, H for help. There we go. I need to rename the MMU. Shift-R. Okay. Shift-R. Name, Dr. Aeronautics. What should I put for this? I always enter 32. And he is the captain. Okay, there is Commander Dr. Aeronautics. So now we're going to add the second guy. We're going to go to Scenario Editor, Don't Track, and see he got renamed. We're going to call this UMMU2, and we're going to create 3 more people. UMMU 2.5, don't set camera, create, location, copy from me, and move over. Control that guy. And we want Shift R. Name Galileo. Galilei. I'm butchering this name. Let me get that right. Oh my gosh. I actually managed to spell it right. What year did he make his telescope? (1609), and he was born in 1564. So he would have made his telescope at age 45. And well, he was technically a scientist. Well, all the guys I'm getting are a scientist. We'll do 1 crew, 1 sci, and 1 tech. Alright, third MMU, UMMU 3. Select UMMU 2.5. Where'd you go? There it is. Don't set camera. Create. Location. Copy from Galileo and move over. Select this UMMU. Shift R. Giovanni Domenico Cassini. Discovered his first satellite in 1671 at the age of 46. Man, everybody seems to do everything amazing in their 40s, and everyone complains about being old at age 30. Ridiculous. Like this scientist. Oops. Okay. It decided to use a female model. Oh well. And then UMMU 4. Don't set camera. Select UMMU. Create. Location. Copy and move over. Select UMMU 4. Alright, Shift R, enter UMMU name. Johannes Kepler. See when he made his laws. First published in 1609. Oh my gosh, I think that's the same year. 1609. At the age of 38. And he will be the 10th. Another female model. Brilliant. Okay. Okay, I think we are completely set up now. So at this point, I'm going to select myself, and I got my crew over here. I got my... This is stupid. I can't turn my head more than 80 degrees. That's super lame. I got my cargoes, followed by the pallet, followed by the spacecraft right here. And, oh, was that a flash? Oh, no, okay. It's just the hangar backlit by the sun. Okay. That scared me. I was like, no! Ooh, and the moon. That's cool. Oh, but you know what? We want to change the field of view to what I consider realistic. I use 40 degrees. That makes the moon proper sized for me. So that's adjusted. And I think we got a good opportunity for our first picture here. I think it's Alt F1 is the key coordinate. Yeah, there we go. it won't save this dialog box with it. Alright, I'm just going to perform a final inspection to make sure that we have this loaded up as it should be. Ah, shoot. UMMU has mass. So if we add 4 passengers, that adds 1,000 kilograms to the XR2 Raven Star. I hope I do not have to adjust my numbers again. I'm going to need to test that. So I want to test my launch vehicle mass. It's going to be what it is now, minus the weight of the cargo, which is 7753. So it should be 27,757 kilograms. Oops, I'm in the probe when it's Saturn Skyhopper. Yep, no pilot on board. That's what I expected. Why is the HUD on? HUD should be off. Anyway. There it is. 30,572.1. What? Why is this different? This is a serious problem. Oh my gosh. That means that I'm going to have to rework the calculations. Goodness. Okay, I figured it out by holding mass constant and running a rocket
External cooling online.
a rocket equation across the entire mission. What I found was that there's actually, because more fuel is going to the added empty weight, it means that the changes that I made for the scramjet fuel usage and probe deployment are slightly more negligible than they were before. But I can go a little bit further and calculate the changes that would be occurring. So right now I was subtracting out 519 extra kilograms that basically would have been burned if we carried the scramjet fuel through to completion. But now with more empty mass, now we subtract 551.44 kilograms, because that would have basically added onto the number. And then onto the probe mass, instead of 42.79 kilograms, it's going to be 44.79 kilograms. So I can drag those formulas down and then adjust the second one for the probe, and man, that was a dodgy effort. But I have a new number. It is 5,914 kilograms, split 600 kilograms into the RCS tank, 204 is already for RCS, and the remaining is going to be, and I ended up scoring .999, so we lucked out quite a bit. So that's 5,314 kilograms into the main tank. And now you see why it's important to be very, very accurate with your numbers. Because for some reason I did not get the empty weight correct.
Too far from airlock.
Come on.
Too far from airlock.
There we go. I have boarded the XR2 Raven Star because now we have to make this adjustment.
Fuel hatch open. Refueling systems online.
Alright, so I need a little bit more fuel now. I'm going to need 5314. Man, that was close. So we need to burn 1.2 kilograms.
Rotation translation. Warning, external cooling offline. Rotation off. RCS fuel tanks full.
Okay, there's 5314. When added to the 600 in the RCS tank, makes 5,914, and that's the number.
Hatch open. External cooling online.
Okay, now back to our original test. Total ship mass without fuel in the main tank, the atmospheric probe, or the scramjet fuel. So, our current mass is 31,866 kilograms. We need to subtract out 5,914 kilograms from the main fuel. Then we need to subtract 3,350 kilograms from the scramjet fuel. Then we need to add the mass of the other cargoes. So that's the payload adapter, the pop-up control module, the flag, and the pop-up base module, subtracting the atmospheric probe, and we get 30,000 even. Something is acting very, very chasey right now. I'm still not getting the right numbers. How hard is it to add? This is a simple addition problem. Alright, let's do it this way. Our current vessel mass is 31,866 kilograms, and we have all of our fuel, which means to get the launch mass, all we got to do is add the cargo to our current ship mass. And I get 39,619. What in the world is going on? Maybe I need to also... No. Oh, gosh, what is going on? I've got all our mass on board, minus the cargo. That should bring us up to our launch mass. Something must be wrong with my formulas. Okay, I finally figured it out. It was a combination of two things. One, how I was defining the oxygen. I was assuming that I should drain until the amount that I'm expecting to use, when in reality my calculations were based on the entire oxygen tank content. So that threw it off by more than 1,000. Additionally, the UMMUs do have weight, each one at 100 kilograms, so it was throwing my weight off by 400 kilograms. So what I did was I emptied the entire ship out, tell me the empty weight, then added everybody in, loaded up everything, and now I predicted a launch vessel mass of 39,436 kilograms. I have 5 more kilograms of fuel than I need. I really need 5367, but that's close enough. So I said 39,436, and we arrived at 39,436, and we're fully loaded. So now we're ready to finalize this and get this published. Okay, so having reloaded, we're now on phase 4. So I'm already on board, so all I need to do now is adjust the mass. So we have full RCS, full scram, full APU, full oxygen. That's not the full number, though.
Locks hatch open. Locks resupply systems online.
Okay, so I'm going to add locks here.
Locks tanks full. Locks resupply systems offline.
Okay, and then I need 5,366 kilograms. 600 are going into the RCS tank, which means we need 4,766.6.
Warning, fuel dump. Warning, fuel dump.
766.
Fuel hatch open. Refueling systems online.
Oh my gosh, that's the number. That was incredible luck. I don't know what the odds of that are. That was probably like close to 1 in 100, maybe 1 in 1,000 even. Okay, so I have a mass right now of 31,318. I'm already on board. We have 3 more MMUs. That's going to add 300 more kilograms. Then we have the total cargo mass to add, and that should get us our number. 39,371. Where's the discrepancy? So we're off by 60 kilograms.
Refueling systems offline.
Alright, let me see what happens to the mass when I get off. I think we're ready. Alright, so I have 31,318. Now I'm going to get off.
Egress successful.
Okay, everybody's off, and now we're showing 31,198. Okay. That means that I was 120 kilograms. So 20 kilograms off for 3 people accounts for 60 kilograms. Yes! Okay, we are 100% correct now, although I just realized...
Too far from airlock. Too far from airlock.
on. I just now realized, though, that we want to turn the HUD off. That's it.
Egress successful.
Okay, now I hopped off. Take the spacesuit off and go hang with my buddies. Okay, the last thing that we want to do is adjust the time, although I want to verify everything. We have a fuel loadout of 5366. We have a 192 kilonewton engine, 14 years of O2, actually 17.3 of O2. That's the mission duration. We have a XR2 adapter, a control module, a flag, an atmospheric probe, a base module, 4 passengers, 204 kilograms of RCS fuel, 5,390 or 5,330 kilograms of oxygen, 3,351 kilograms of scramjet mass, and a partridge in a pear tree. Scenario editor, date. It took 41 minutes to do all of this mess. Apply. Done. Save. And this is it. General order. Space mission number 1. This is the official scenario build for the fall 2021 flight to Saturn and Enceladus, Titan, and Iapetus. Save and close. We're done. Okay, so the final thing is to clean up the scenarios. So we need to remove everything except the official one. We will archive them just in case we need to access them later. And then I do want to just make sure that this is the right one. We're looking for that description. Yep, this is the official scenario build. We've got it. All right, so I'm going to move this into Grand Explorations. And we've got, there it is, with the Orbiter Uranus exploration video. Okay, that's it. We're finally on to product exports.
Okay, we're now going to export the products. The very first thing is going to be the mission planning workbook. First of all, we're going to save it because we know this is the official launch version. We're going to save as a PDF, and that is going to prevent the chance of editing. We know 100%, right? Let's say I'm out at Enceladus, and suddenly I realize that there's something wrong with how I was calculating things. Well, no matter what changes that I can make to this spreadsheet, no matter what changes I can make, I cannot make them to the PDF once it's created. So I'm going to save this as Orbiter Saturn Launch Expedition 9/26/2021. Launch export. Okay, and here it is. So I have all of the information that I need. I was hoping this would be clean. It's a little bit dirty, but other than that, it's mostly clean. It's good enough, which is good. So that's okay. That's only for an emergency, okay? So that's the first thing that's been exported. The second thing that we need to do is export the checklists. See, I should copy. Okay, and then I'm going to rename it checklist. No, there should not be a checklist.txt. I just removed it. Maybe I just copied it. Okay. Now we're going to run check to HTML. Convert. It says it's been created. So now I'm going to copy this back. XR checklist.html and check it out. All right, we have the ground cockpit startup. That looks good. Ascent, maneuver, secure configuration, EVA, deployments, ingress, VLAND, stowing, VTO, atmospheric entry, ascent for Titan, landing, and shutdown. That should be everything that we need. Okay, I'm now going to restore. So what I do is I take this checklist that I removed here, and I don't want to move. I'm going to copy. I'm going to copy and override and make sure that there's no XR stuff in here. Good. Yes, I want to replace it, because what I'm doing now is I'm restoring the old checklist. So run check to HTML, convert, created, okay, exit, and we're just going to double check to make sure that this one, yep, it's back to the original. Okay, so now, in the future, we will be accessing this through xrchecklist.html. And we're good. Okay, that completes the checklists. We also want to make sure that the XR config file has been exported, and I'm checking on my other computer. It actually has not, so I need to do that. That's going to be in config, and I want to do XR to Ravenstar prefs. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to rename this one to be General Order Space Mission 1 edited version. And the other one I'm going to prefix original, so that I know that this is the original one. Okay? So that has been exported as well. The other thing we're going to do, we'll jump over to the other computer, is to check out the log file and make sure that the right config file is getting loaded.
Okay, we're going to jump out here, open up the XR2 Ravenstar log, and we're going to go down here, and here we go. Successfully parsed configuration file, Saturn Skyhopper .xrcfg. And you can see using configuration files, XR Ravenstar prefs.cfg and config Saturn Skyhopper .xrcfg. So we're good. We've confirmed that is indeed being loaded. The last thing we need to do is export the scenario file itself, just in case. That's not the one. There it is. General Order Space Mission number 1. The official version is now saved off. The other thing I'm going to do as well, create an export folder. And we're going to leave the defaults in here, but we're going to remove everything else. That's a default. This is an edited version. We're going to take all of these out and stick them in this export area. We'll worry about all the rest of the stuff later. And that completes product exports, and that completes mission planning. We have developed a mission. We have planned the mission and the calculations. We have created all of the necessary tools that we will need to fly the mission, which means the next time we fly the mission, when we load up with the next with the next video that I'm going to do, I'm going to be loading up the scenario and we're flying to Saturn. I've been Dr. Aeronautics, and I will see you guys next time for the flight to Saturn and Enceladus and Titan and Iapetus. Bye-bye.